From the broadcast center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good afternoon, I'm Riley Lung, and you're listening to 1680 The Crow, and it's currently 12 p.m. 15 people were charged with mischief after a riot that broke up in the Peony at 2022. The charges came after a year-long investigation at last summer's Breakout Festival, where the headliner Lil Baby was forced to cancel his performance due to an illness. The riot caused more than $300,000 in damages at the Peony. VPD were able to identify the rioters by videos posted online and tips helping identify the suspects. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says the Canadian Security Intelligence Service has credible information that links the Indian government to the death of Hardeep Singh Nijjar when he was shot and killed on June 18th. India has called on the accusations, rejecting them and calling them absurd and motivated. Since then, Trudeau has expelled an Indian diplomat, and India has done the same to a Canadian diplomat. Both diplomats were given 5 days to leave the country. Trudeau says he's not trying to provoke India, but tensions between the countries are rising. SFU's special advisor has produced hard numbers between the cancellation of their varsity football program in April. Reporter Max Mashman has more.
A report out of Simon Fraser University claims that a projected $1.77 million operational deficit was at the core of the decision to cancel their varsity football program. SFU's decision to cancel the program 5 months ago seemingly came out of nowhere and shocked football fans across the province. On the same day the cancellation was announced, SFU Athletics and Recreation Director told players the reason for the cancellation was not financially motivated. But the report produced by a special advisor hired by SFU says differently. The report cited significant concerns about the operations of the athletics department and their ability to support current programming, leaving UBC as the only varsity football team in British Columbia. Max Mashman, 1680, The Crow.
We have Max here to tell us more about the SFU varsity football story. Hi, Max.
Hi, Riley.
All right, so Max, is there any opposition to SFU closing the football program?
Well, Riley, there actually is quite a bit of controversy over the decision, enough to prompt SFU to hire their advisor in the first place. The advisor has determined there is no easy path to bring SFU football back, which is viewed as a nail in the coffin and sourced by fans. That being said, it is clear the program has a lot of passion behind it, with program alumni raising over $3 million for an endowment fund, and BC Lions owner Amar Doman raising close to $800,000.
All right. What is going to happen to the players from SFU football?
Well, we don't exactly know that quite yet, but according to SFU Athletics, they will work hard to ensure their scholarships are honored for the duration of the stay at the university, and will provide help and support if the students want to transfer to other universities to pursue different varsity football programs.
All right. Thank you very much, Max. I'll see you later.
Thank you, Riley.
BC has launched a one-stop shop for provincial permits that are needed to build homes. BC's government is aiming to speed up the construction of building homes and secondary suites by releasing new guides and programs to help the process. The government is also promising 3,000 homeowners to forgive loans for up to $40,000 to create secondary suites and rent them out for below market price. The operators of 4 fishing boats have been fined or forced to give up their vessels, and another captain has been handed a fishing ban after investigations. The Department of Fisheries says the penalties came out by illegal fishing in Boundary Bay. One captain pleaded guilty to illegal fishing in the U.S. waters for over 2 seasons. After previous violations, he was fined $50,000. He had to forfeit 96 traps and has been banned for the first 2 weeks of the 2024-2025 fishing season. Another captain was fined $160,000 for setting more traps than he was allowed to. Canada's inflation rate hit 4% in August. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre says it's not only inflation is up, it's rising fast.
8 years of Justin Trudeau, is not only high, but it is broad. It is across all different products and services. Whether you include or exclude food and gas, inflation is now double its target.
This week, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will be visiting Canada. Sources say he will be visiting Ottawa and Toronto. President Joe Biden will be hosting Zelensky at the White House on Thursday. Friday, he will depart to Ottawa, and where he will address the Parliament, then head towards Toronto. This is to be Zelensky's first official visit to Canada since the start of the invasion by Russia. Science World just unveiled its newest attraction, the Creative Technologies Gallery. Our reporter Zach Clark has more.
On Monday evening, Science World debuted their first exhibit in the long-awaited Creative Technologies Gallery. The exhibit, titled Dream Builder, is interactive and has 4 stages. One stage to show off artists and visionaries around Vancouver. Then the Dream stage to show off all the different worlds in one's imagination. Followed by the building stage where you construct your own world, being able to change everything from grass color to camera angles to sound effects. And finally, the play stage allows you to explore your world and others with 360-degree cameras, cutscenes, and full sensory experiences. Developed by local studio Phoenix Labs in collaboration with DigiBC, the exhibit features characters and technology from Phoenix Labs' hit game Dauntless. Zach Clark, 1680 The Crow.
West Kelowna Mounties says a man has been arrested after a car crash that killed a pedestrian last August. They say a warrant was issued Friday for second-degree murder, criminal negligence causing death, and dangerous driving causing death. The 27-year-old was arrested the same day. He since remained in custody and is scheduled to appear in Kelowna Supreme Court today. WestJet CEO says the global push to carbonize the aviation sector will cause ticket prices to skyrocket unless the government steps in to offer support. The CEO has made comments at the 24th World Petroleum Congress, a major international oil and gas conference being held this week. WestJet is the biggest consumer for petroleum products in the oil-producing province of Alberta, spending $1 billion every year on jet fuel. The WestJet CEO says the airline is investing in newer and more efficient planes to reduce greenhouse emissions. Insured damages from severe summer storms in Alberta and the prairies are estimated to be over $300 million in losses. The estimates don't include damages from ongoing wildfires. The Insurance Bureau of Canada says about 30% or $90 million have went towards repairing or replacing storm-hit vehicles in Alberta. This is already straining the auto insurance market amid the provincial rate pause. More evacuation alerts for southern BC. Most of Peachland and along with the west side of Okanagan Lake is now on evacuation alert, as drought, heat, and windy conditions in southern BC fuel the late-season Glen Lake wildfire. The Central Okanagan Region District expanded evacuation alerts today as Wildfire Service said the suspected human-caused blaze has grown to nearly 8 square kilometers after being sparked on Saturday. This regional district says Peachland's downtown core and its Beach Avenue neighborhoods are not included in the border alert, and there is no change to the evacuation order posted earlier for the 8 recreational properties along the Glen Lake Forest Service Road. French journalists have been detained after reporting on a French state defense secret, says the media. The journalist's residence has been searched by the country's domestic intelligence agency. The journalist has leaked documents implicating French intelligence role in Egypt's targeting of civilians. The media outed the detention, calling it an unacceptable assault on press freedom. But internal security said it was compromising national defense secrets and revealing information that could lead to identification of a protected agent. In football, BC Lions have a game against the Edmonton Elks on Friday after winning Ottawa Red Blacks over the weekend. And last night, the Pittsburgh Steelers were victorious, going 26-22 over the Cleveland Browns. Steelers quarterback Kenny Pickett says his team's strong defense is a nice luxury, but the offense needs to do more for them.
It's unreal as an offense to have that. We want to return that favor, though. I feel like we let those guys out there way too long. There's things that we got to do a lot better offensively to also help those guys out.
The Cleveland Browns running back Nick Chubb has suffered a gruesome knee injury that will require surgery and will be taking him out for the rest of the season. In hockey, yesterday the Canucks won their final game again in the Youngstars tournament in Penticton. The Canucks won against the Edmonton Oilers in a 5-2 game. The Canucks opening season game will be on October 11th, going up the Edmonton Oilers again. And now for your weather report. It's a bright day with some clouds rolling in Metro Vancouver area right now. We can expect some rain in the afternoon following into the evening today. The current temperature is 14 degrees and we're looking at a high to 16 and a low of 11. Wednesday is expected to look brighter than today with sun all day with a high of 19 degrees and a low of 11 degrees. Thursday and Friday is looking good with sun all day as well. It's going to be a little warm with a high of 22 degrees and a low of 12. And family of a department store worker whose body remained locked in a bathroom for days after she died is suing the company. Relatives of a 63-year-old Bessie Durham says they couldn't even hold an open casket funeral because her body was so decomposed during the 4 days it remained in the bathroom at the Belk store in Columbia, South Carolina. The lawsuit says Durham, a cleaning worker, went into the family bathroom on a Thursday last September and died from a cardiac problem. Attorneys say, my name is Riley Lung and you're listening to 1680 The Crow. Thank you for tuning in.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
This is 1680 The Crow, and you're listening to our feature presentation.
Fantasy football is one of the largest sports industries in all of North America and is only getting bigger. American football is the most popular sport in the United States, and football is a religion for its most die-hard fans, and fantasy football is their Bible. On our show today, myself and my co-host Madison Buckingham will be going over the fantasy football industry, doing a deep dive into its success in its past 60 years of existence.
The main question we want to ask is why? Why have football fans migrated away from their hometown teams in favor of the players they have on their fantasy teams?
We hope to provide answers to these questions and provide details not just about fantasy football, but how legalized gambling is affecting the industry.
Matt Marchese of Sportsnet is a fantasy football expert. Matt loves football and has been enrolled in 7 different fantasy leagues this season. Matt was kind enough to speak with us to tell us what he loves about fantasy football so much.
I mean, I love the camaraderie. I love the trash talking, especially in a couple of leagues that I've been in for a while. Like one league that I'm in, I think there's about 7 of us that are in. We've been there for 7 years, and like 7 of us, I think, have been there the entire time. And then we've had a couple of changeovers here or there. But like that to me, I got to know people that, I'm here in Toronto area, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4 guys, I believe, that live out in BC because, we had a mutual friend or whatever the case was. And then one of the other guys was in Trinidad, and then he's recently moved up to Toronto. So, I like that part of it because, listen, I've gotten to know people. I would call them friends, and I've never actually met them in person.
Some people are so invested in their fantasy teams that they cheer for them over their hometown clubs. We asked Matt where he stood on that issue.
Yeah, I would say that I know for some people it's really hard to keep separate, and my answer to that would be well, then, I'm not saying it's your own preference, but I would say that those people are not as diehard about, their teams as I am. When the Bills lose, I'm upset. When my fantasy teams lose, I'm upset. But I've got 7 of them. So one of them is bound to win and make me feel a little bit better. When the Bills lose, and that's it.
Now on to the gambling aspects. Gambling is now a huge part of the sporting landscape, with 34 American states, plus Washington, D.C., and 7 Canadian provinces allowing single-game sports betting in some form. Having your own sportsbook is a license to print money, and with so much money tied into gambling, it changes how much investment people have in athletes.
The fantasy football market is worth a total of $29 billion and is expected to grow up to $76.51 billion by the end of 2030. There are over 60 million people across the globe playing some form of fantasy sports. And to nobody's surprise, the largest and fastest growing fantasy leagues are the ones involving the NFL.
The NFL made nearly $12 billion in revenue during 2022 and is one of the most recognizable brands in the world. Advertisers line up to get a piece of America's most prestigious league, with Super Bowl commercials costing over $7 million per 30-second commercial. With the COVID pandemic finally behind us, for the most part, sports leagues are trying to recoup as much money as they possibly can from heavy pandemic losses. One of the largest revenue drivers in the post-pandemic industry is legalized sports gambling. Spend any time watching sports and you'll be bombarded with betting ads and the constant betting segments during intermissions and halftimes.
Now that it's here, sports gambling is likely never going to go away, and regulation efforts are going to have to increase along with the supply of people betting on single game events.
Legalized gambling has also changed the way we consume our favorite teams and players, especially in regards to our fantasy teams. Now that many people have bets or parlays on specific events, there is more incentive to cheer for specific events during sports games. The casual fan has become more and more emotionally and monetarily involved during games. Many people have significant money tied into individual players, creating an immersive experience that leagues are cultivating.
I think more people are now watching football in Canada because they can bet on a single game. Whereas before, like here in Ontario, we have Proline, and I don't know what you guys have out west, but that was something that was very prominent for a long time. But you had to bet on a minimum of 3 games, if I'm not mistaken, or 2, but I'm pretty sure it was 3. So, people shied away from that. Well, I don't want to bet because I just want to bet on this one game because, my team's playing in it or this is my favorite player. Now that's completely changed the landscape. Now it's like I can bet on one game. I can bet on one single thing, catches, yards, whatever the case may be. So I think that part has totally changed not only how people watch football, but the types of people that are watching football too.
But with all that comes significant risk, with multiple NFL players having already been suspended for gambling. It is important to note that it is illegal for NFL players or employees to gamble on any sports.
Marchese spoke about the possibility that the sports world might endure another major gambling scandal like the Chicago White Sox did in 1919, where multiple players were banned for life.
I mean, there's always a possibility. I think it depends on the player, too. I believe they have, like some guys got suspended for 6 games. Ridley got suspended for a year. I think it all depends on the player, too. I think they're a little bit lenient with some more so than they are with others. At the end of the day, I don't care that players are, don't bet on your team to lose because that's not in the spirit of the thing. But, I mean, the NFL is also kind of ridiculous in how they do their suspensions because, we've seen guys get, 3 or 4 games for assaulting somebody, but laying a bet that doesn't involve your team and you get a year. I mean, or guys that smoke, like Josh Gordon, that smoked marijuana, that got suspended countless times for that. I don't know. To me, that's kind of it's a slippery slope to go down. It's kind of ridiculous. But do I think that you could see somebody get suspended forever? Sure. I would never rule anything out because it's the NFL. I lean more towards the side of I doubt it. It's more so a case of this guy got suspended indefinitely. He's not very good. So I'm not going to waste a roster spot on him because he's just not very good. So I think that's more of what you will see. Like a guy gets suspended and then he doesn't resurface because he's not good enough. Good players will find a place, just like Calvin Ridley did with Jacksonville after being suspended when he was with the Atlanta Falcons. Like that, to me, is something that will always happen in terms of that. Talent, generally speaking, finds a way, whether suspended or not.
Beyond the player's angle, the risks of gambling among the general population are very real. Gambling addiction is a major problem for a sizable part of society, and with the legalization of single-game betting, as well as the constant advertisements that have been taking over the industry, the risks of developing a gambling addiction have never been higher.
We also got the chance to talk to Dwayne Mason, an addictions counselor, who gave us strategies for overcoming a gambling problem.
There's different treatments for gambling. So one is sort of cognitive behavioral therapy, which is basically, you sit down and you make a plan about, how you're going to interact with gambling in your life. And then there's sort of a 12-step model, which would be sort of like AA, or in this case it'd be GA, Gambling Anonymous. As a place you can get help, and also there's actually pharmacological ways you can also address, pathological gambling.
The future of football is an interesting one, with more and more information coming out about concussions and their long-term impact. With all the new data upon the decline in quality of life after multiple concussions, futures football is at a crossroads. Enrollment in youth football is declining, with safety concerns being paramount. It may seem inconceivable to some that football may lose its spot on the top of the mountain in America, but basketball is catching up fast. Will fantasy football decline as well? I personally don't think so, as even though enrollment numbers are declining, the fantasy industry is booming. Maybe one day we will see a day where fantasy football is the #1 sport and not the National Football League. This has been Joseph Augusti.
And I'm Madison Buckingham.
Signing off for 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Hi, I'm Joseph Augusti, and welcome to the 1230 News. Senior diplomats have been ordered expelled in Canada and India after Prime Minister Justin Trudeau connected agents of the Indian government to the murder of BC Sikh leader Hardeep Singh Nijjar. India's Minister of External Affairs says an unnamed senior Canadian diplomat has been asked to leave India within 5 days. Canadian Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly says Canada was expelling India's Pavab Kumar Rai, who is in charge of an Indian intelligence agency in Ottawa. Trudeau told the House of Commons that there is credibility to allegations that the Indian government agents were involved in Nijjar's death.
Our top priorities have therefore been, 1, that our law enforcement and security agencies ensure the continued safety of all Canadians, and 2, that all steps be taken to hold perpetrators of this murder to account.
The Indian government has denied the allegations, calling them, quote, observed and motivated, end quote. Conservative Party of Canada leader and leader of the opposition, Pierre Poilievre, has made a statement regarding the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Poilievre is asking for transparency.
If these allegations are true, they represent an outrageous affront to Canada's sovereignty. Our citizens must be safe from extrajudicial killings of all kinds, most of all from foreign governments.
SFU's special advisor has produced hard numbers behind the cancellation of their varsity football program in April. Reporter Max Mashman has more.
A report out of Simon Fraser University claims that a projected $1.77 million operational deficit was at the core of the decision to cancel their varsity football program. SFU's decision to cancel the program 5 months ago seemingly came out of nowhere and shocked football fans across the province. On the same day the cancellation was announced, SFU Athletics and Recreation Director told players the reason for the cancellation was not financially motivated. But the report produced by a special advisor hired by SFU says differently. The report cited significant concerns about the operations of the athletics department and their ability to support current programming, leaving UBC as the only varsity football team in British Columbia. Max Mashman, 1680, The Crow.
Science World just unveiled its newest attraction, the Creative Technologies Gallery. Our reporter Zach Clark has more.
On Monday evening, Science World debuted their first exhibit in the long-awaited Creative Technologies Gallery. The exhibit, titled Dream Builder, is interactive and has 4 stages. One stage to show off artists and visionaries around Vancouver. Then the Dream stage to show off all the different worlds in one's imagination. Followed by the Building stage where you construct your own world, being able to change everything from grass color to camera angles to sound effects. And finally, the Play stage allows you to explore your world and others with 360-degree cameras, cutscenes, and full sensory experiences. Developed by local studio Phoenix Labs in collaboration with DigiBC, the exhibit features characters and technology from Phoenix Labs' hit game Dauntless. Zach Clark, 1680 The Crow.
15 people have been charged with mischief after a 2022 riot at the Pacific National Exhibition left over $300,000 in damages. The damage came after Breakout Festival headliner Lil Baby was forced to cancel his show due to illness. Fans channeled their frustration into property damage by flipping over trash cans and taking down structures. Some social media members say that as P&E tents were being flipped over, rioters began to steal alcohol. The incident, which took place September 18, 2022, also resulted in damage to nearby residential areas. The final trailer for the Disney Plus series Percy Jackson and the Olympians was released Monday morning. The series, which was filmed entirely in Vancouver, focuses on Walker Scobell as a young Percy Jackson.
My name is Percy Jackson. Am I a troubled kid? Yeah, you could say that. Bad grades, bullies, all the normal stuff. And then there's some stuff that's maybe not so normal.
And that was your newscast for 11 a.m. I'm Joseph Augusti, and thanks for listening to 1680 The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.